Hey, what's going on, guys? Godstatus here. So I know a lot of people have been talking about how the M16A4 and the M4 have been nerfed in the test place, and that's something that I kind of want to talk about and give my opinions on, since I feel like my opinion will actually shock you guys, since I know a lot of you guys have known that I've been advocating for bursts to be nerfed for a very long time. It's been pretty obvious to a lot of the community that burst guns have been extremely dominant for way too long, and it's definitely time for a change. However, I don't really fully support the change that Stylus did here. Now, I'm going to talk about why and some solutions that I personally think would be worth doing, so let's get into that. The M16A4 and the M4, for those of you guys who aren't aware of these changes, again, they're only in the test place and they are subject to more change, so let's just take this with how I'm seeing the updates right now and what they could potentially be if they were to go into the main game as they are. So, to put it this way, the M16A4 and the M4 became a lot slower bursting of guns. They're no longer, super fast bursts. They're a lot higher damage, slower bursts, which is something that was in the talks of for a while, but I didn't think it would actually come to the test place. And the reason why is because I feel like making these guns, not as fast of firing and making them just higher damage completely changes what the guns are meant to be. And I'm not really a huge fan of that. I feel like the M16A4 and the M4 have been in this game for so long and have held such a, prominent spot in how the gun works and how they handle, that whole entire originality of the gun should not be changed. I personally think that the gun should keep their fast burst and everything. I personally just think that their damage and everything should be tweaked instead. Rather than making the gun something that they're not, or something that they haven't always been, why not take this opportunity? And I know I talked about adding new guns not always being the best option for Stylus, but why not take this opportunity to add a new burst gun that handles how these guns are handling right now? Bring the M16A4 and the M4 back to their old fire rates and just allow them to have lower damage or lower range caps and things like that. Don't make them as powerful of guns and mess around with their damage and their range rather than their entire control of the gun. Because this is an opportunity where I actually was talking about this on stream the other day, where these guns are going to behave like kind of, if you guys ever played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, like the FAMAS on there. These are how these guns are behaving right now. They're one burst up to about 85 studs, or at least on the M16A4, and one burst up to about 90 if you, take that little bit of extra damage drop off. But look at that. That was just a one burst on two people, and that was at 115, 102 studs. However, I was hitting headshots, so, hitting headshots does help a lot. But these guns are handling like the FAMAS from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, in which they are a lot more harder hitting and a lot slower firing, which I like, but I don't think it's worth it on these guns. Again, they've held such a dominant role in the game where the damage and the range of them 100% needs to be looked at, without a doubt. It definitely doesn't need to be, stay where they are, because right now they're just too dominant. Everyone can agree with that. They're way too powerful in their current stage, but don't change the guns and what they really mean for the game. This is, not only that, the main reason I'm saying that is because things like the AK-12, the AK-12BR, and other burst guns haven't been nerfed in this similar manner, and that's a complete overhaul they would have to do. So think about that. Instead of making, the opportunity, they like adding new guns to the game, and I feel like this is something, in my personal opinion, that actually does add, a new feeling to the guns. Whereas instead where you were taking, these burst guns that were super fast firing, just to show you, as you guys can see here, this is, as fast as the gun can go. That's basically it. If we take out something like the AK-12, which the burst hasn't been nerfed yet, the gun still shoots really fast. Obviously, I'm not bursting perfectly, but if I throw on like a macro or something, you could see how perfect it is. It's not, it's not the same. Let's take out the normal M4, which you guys have seen me use recently in the burst, and that's how fast this can burst. It's really not anything that great. So changing the entire aspect of these guns really isn't what I personally wanted to see. I've been advocating for nerfs for a while, but not these kind of nerfs. Again, this feels to me like a really big opportunity for Stylus to add a new gun to the game that I personally believe would actually have an impact on things. It could very well be a really nice gun to use where aim is really going to matter, and you're really going to have to work on getting those one bursts. You can no longer just kind of, spam rapid fire a burst gun and win. Let's take, in my opinion, it would be a lot easier for them to keep the M16A4 and the M4 at the fire rate they were at previously and just play with their damage stats. Would that take a lot more testing? Yes, but I think the overall haul of this would be easier. And then to add a new burst gun that handles like how they want these guns to. Make a new burst gun that power, that huge hitter in the burst scene, and have that be a new content. You could even make it slightly lower rank, make it one burst up to, you know, 70, 80 studs, make it have that different feel. But this is an opportunity for you to really add a new gun that actually does add something. It's not going to be the same thing. It's not just another burst gun. It's going to behave like these new guns, just on a completely new concept. And I think that's the best way to go. Why do we want to ruin, you know, the integrity of these guns instead of bringing something new? And I know a lot of people are asking, it's also been, you know, a lot, and I mean a lot, of really, you know, not so great guns coming into the game, and a lot of really high ranked guns coming into the game. The TAR 21 wouldn't even be anything too crazy without Hollow Point. Hollow Point is the reason that it's crazy. But now you have the opportunity. There's a huge opportunity for a whole new category of burst guns that they could work on over time. I'm not saying add in a ton of burst guns and, you know, just start going crazy on the updates, but give it a shot. You know, every now and then that gives you the opportunity, even if you just make one, that automatically will redefine the burst category as a whole. Not necessarily as a whole, but it will redefine the initial choice of burst guns that you use and really add a new meaning to them. And personally, I really do like how they kind of made the M16A4. I just don't want to see it on the M16A4. I would like to see the old M16A4 back, obviously with some changes to its damage range, things like that. But keep the integrity of the gun. This is, like I said, it's a real opportunity to actually have a new gun that can actually make an impact in the game as a whole. It's not just going to be, you know, something copy-pasted. Having a super strong hitting burst gun is actually relatively new to PF. We haven't had a gun like this in the past, if I'm not mistaken, so it's something that's going to be pretty cool to see. Granted, you could say something like the AK-12BR, but even that isn't the same concept because that can be shot at 1,000 rounds per minute. That isn't the same thing. It's a little wild. I'd much rather see it on a new gun, make a new kind of like quote-unquote category to burst, give some new variety, and a gun update that really could change things. And you could, I also personally would like to see the gun be a little bit of a lower rank. We're constantly having guns that are ranked like 100 plus, and I know the reason they're doing that, or at least the reason I'm assuming, is because they want to make like guns for all ranks. But I think there still might be, you know, a lower rank out there that they could put the gun at, so it doesn't have to be, you know, 100 plus all the time, and that could be something a little bit better. There's a lot of room to play with this. There's a lot of opportunity with it, and if they handle this correctly, I really do think it could be a really nice update. But who really knows at this point? These are my opinions on it. I'd like to hear your guys' opinions on it. What do you, or excuse me, how do you guys feel about a nice, strong, one-burstable gun up to like a decent range that doesn't have insane fire rate? So what if we drop the gun down, because these delays are what's stopping the gun from doing that full fire, and it could be done on another gun. I know the FAMAS is like a full auto gun on here. Modern Warfare 2 FAMAS was a burst gun. But we could definitely find something new. I'm sure there's other burst guns out there that we could put into play. If you don't think about it as like, you know, them trying to make the game super realistic with their guns, a gun stats could be tweaked a little bit to kind of counteract that measure and make it a lot more interesting. I personally like the power of these guns. I really do, because it brings me back to like, you know, a Modern Warfare 2 feel where it was much more about accuracy than, you know, just fully autoing a burst gun and going crazy with it. Having the ability to fully auto like M16A4s and M4s really didn't make them take any skill because they had no recoil anyways. But now, if, you know, aim becomes a lot more into it, and it definitely becomes a lot more of a factor just in a whole, and I really think that's good for the game. I think, you know, actually having like a little bit of a skill curve to it where you can't just full auto it is going to matter. And if, even like right there, if someone's sitting still and you burst them, chances are you're not going to one burst them without controlling the gun a little bit. You have to still pull down a little bit. And this is a perfect concept. Just put it onto something new, right? Like, you guys know me. I never advocate for new guns. I'm never wanting them to put out new guns because I don't think they ever change anything. But this does. This is huge to me personally. And I seriously do think it's an awesome update. It's going to be weird. It's definitely going to feel a lot different. It's going to take a lot of getting used to, and I'm honestly not sure at all how the community would handle something like this. The test place, and the main issue I see with the test place, is the fact that it really isn't marketed to a ton of people. If I had to take a poll, honestly, which I might actually do in the community tab on YouTube, where to ask people how they found out about, you know, the test place, whether it be through a YouTuber, whether it be through, you know, they saw it on like the game page one day, or they heard about it from a friend or something. I kind of want to do a poll and see where that stands, because the test place isn't really put to major good use. it's mostly like higher level players who get to do it, which isn't bad. And I don't mean to sound like, you know, elitist in a sense here, but there's a lot of like new people to the game who might come onto the test plays and be like, oh, you know, buff this gun to, you know, all high hells. And it just isn't good for the game, right? But it gives the opportunity that there's a lot of people out there who are really smart with this stuff. A lot of people out there who could really offer a ton to the game, who might just not have the outlets that we have because we know about them and they don't. Test Plays hasn't been marketed that well, and you know, you would think for when they're pushing you know, all these updates to the Test Plays, people would want to try them out. It seems that so many people don't know about it, and a lot of times those servers are kind of dead. But there are definitely people out there who are interested in guns, who are interested in the game, and would be more than happy to come in here and test things out and, you know, work numbers and see what they could really come up with. And there's a lot of untapped potential out there. So I would really like to see how the test plays could get marketed better, see some more opinions about it, and if they could actively find a way to try to, you know, streamline getting the community's opinions from this, it would be awesome. Nonetheless, I hope you guys did enjoy it. I know it's like kind of like a ranty video, just going off about it. It's something that I find really interesting about, and I'm not like heated about it. Like, I'm not super angry. I really support this, and I want to hear your guys' opinions about that too. So make sure you leave them in the comments. But nonetheless, I hope you guys did enjoy. I'll see you guys in the next video. Again, I apologize for not being consistent on uploads. I'm busy training for a new job and everything, so I'm trying to get back on track. And I might not be able to get, you know, updates like this out right away because stupid Oscar gets them before me and Snowy and whatnot, but I'll always try to drop my opinions on major things like this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.